Long story short, they don't drown.
Well, there we are. The report is ready.
All right. What are you doing now?
The report itself isn't final enough. Farrow would have telephoned his department.
But you can't do that. You'll give yourself away. They'll know it isn't him speaking.
You leave this side of it to me.
Strange operator here. Hello? Yes, London, yes. Whitehall. W-H-I. Yes.
8-7. Thank you.
How do you know who to speak to?
I've been dealing with these people for years.
387? Yes. Hold on. I've a call for you. Go ahead, please.
Hello? Is Mr. Whitmore there, please?
Oh yeah, because putting a handkerchief over a telephone makes your voice sound like Mr. Farrow. Guy pretends to be Mr. Farrow and says that the formula is great. DN6 is great. The insecticide thing, I think. Susan, Barbara, Ian, and Doctor find a formula, but since it's on a giant piece of paper compared to them, they can't quite read it. So Ian starts marking it off with his feet, and Susan and Barbara say, like, directly what it is. And the Doctor makes notes of it on his notebook, which is, of course, minuscule to us, but normal size for them. So, I find it kind of interesting because originally, this was supposed to be a 4-parter, and then for some reason, they decided to condense it into just a 3-parter, and just dropped some unimportant scenes from part 3 and 4 and combined them into one. And there is actually a reconstruction of what it would be like if episodes 3 and 4 were separate on the DVD, and it's actually really cool, and one of the scenes that they cut out is them solving the formula. You actually get to see them solving the formula, not entirely, but most of it, of them solving the formula. But if you're just going to watch part 3 as it was broadcasted, then all you're going to see is the Doctor saying, so Susan and Barbara, you just tell me what to do and I'll write it down, and then it flicks right to where they have solved it. So, yeah. I would recommend buying the DVD just to see that reconstruction. But anyway, so Barbara gets excited because now that they know the formula for DN6, they can find a cure. But, of course, because no one knows that she needs a cure, they just say, why would we need a cure? We just need to stop it from being made. So, yeah, for some reason, Barbara still decides not to tell them. I don't know why. But, yeah. So they then start to talk about how they're going to find food and water. However, Ian says, just shut up so that we don't have to think about it. But then the Doctor says, but there's a sink over there, right? And the water isn't infected with the insecticide. So he's just like, I'll just go over there and bring some back. There's no need for all of us to go. But then the Doctor says, but I think there's a telephone there. Because everyone keeps a telephone directly next to their sink. And for some reason, they do keep a telephone next to their sink. Go figure. So, anyway, they decide to go for some mountain climbing and climb up onto the telephone. It's one of those things where you stick your fingers in and you turn the circle around. It's kind of an old-fashioned telephone from the 60s, and they use these giant corks to hold the telephone up, because you can't be talking to someone if the telephone is still rested on the thing. Yeah, that's right. You guys are probably watching this in the 2020s, where this is as old-fashioned as it can get. Okay, look, see, telephones were different, okay? So, you needed to have the telephone away from this thing in order for you to talk on it. And if it's resting on the thing, then you can't talk to anyone. So they have to use corks to keep the phone up just like a millimeter above, which is enough for them to talk. The insecticide starts to majorly affect Barbara as she's starting to go in and out. And the Doctor, Susan, and Ian try to scream in one end of the phone and hope that, even though they're high-pitched, their voices combined might be able to make their voices, at the very least, a very quiet but hearable voice. However, unfortunately, the operator doesn't understand a thing that they're saying, and Barbara, who is at the other end trying to listen to what she says and reply to what they say, all that she's hearing is a low growl, like Ian says, and she's not understanding either of them. So they're trying to communicate, both of them, but they just aren't hearing each other compared to their sizes, their difference in sizes. Ian starts to get a bit angry after they did actually do a lot of trying to get those corks under the phone. If you watch the actual episode, they did actually do a lot of stuff, but they failed. So, but then at that moment, Barbara tries to take out a handkerchief to blow her nose or something, but then she realized that there's insecticide all over the handkerchief because she wiped it to wipe it off her hands. And now that she just touched the handkerchief and tried to blow her nose, she now got the insecticide back on her hands and now on her face as well. And then at that moment, the insecticide starts to infect her really badly, and she collapses down. Her last dying words being,
Been overdoing things.
Yes. Yes, I think I have.
I'll go and get you some water. It'll freshen you up, eh?
Thank you. What are you doing?
I want your handkerchief. I'll
No.
tuck it in. What's the matter?
You can't have it. You mustn't touch it.
Barbara.
No one must touch. Barbara!
Yes, the same umbrella. Insecticide. You didn't eat or drink anything? Oh, no, certainly not. She got insecticide on her hand. She touched it. Well, she never told me. I never saw her do this. She did borrow my handkerchief. Where were you then? By that pile of seeds. Yes. You see, she got it on the hands. And she rubbed it up on your handkerchief.
Why didn't she tell us?
You can't help her, can't you, Doctor?
Grandfather, we can do something, can't we?
that is how part 3 was supposed to end. But now, of course, that's just a random dramatic scene in the middle of the episode now. Barbara eventually becomes conscious again, and now everyone knows that she's infected. So, everyone's starting to get a little bit freaked out as they have no idea what to do. They have to struggle with stopping the DN6 from getting made, but they have to find a cure for Barbara, and they also have to get back to normal size, and they also have to do it without being seen, and they have to stop themselves from dying or drowning or being squashed to death. Meanwhile, the other guys, one of them is trying a phone that's in a different room. However, back to phones again, back in the olden days, if you had a bunch of phones in the house, they would all be connected. So if one is off the hook, then you can't start a new phone call until all of the phones are back on the hook. And since one of them still has the corks underneath it, it's still not on the thing. Therefore, the two guys are struggling to use their phone as it won't work. So one of the guys asked the other if there's another phone, and they says, yeah, there's one in the lab. And he's like, problem must be there somewhere. Let's go check it out. And then he says, yeah, I want to take a look at Pharaoh's notes. And then as the guy leaves, the other one gets a bit suspicious on what he's doing, and then he takes out his gun again, just in case. The gang decides that they could try to start a fire. They probably won't be able to start a big fire, but just having a little bit of a fire that could spread can easily cause the whole house to catch on fire. Don't worry, kids. If a fire starts in your house, someone will spray water on it and it'll go out before it takes over the entire house. But anyway, they decided to set the house on fire because that would attract other people in the neighborhood towards that place. And when the firefighters come in to spray the house down, one of them, who will be checking out around the house and pretty much everything, will recover the man's body, and therefore, there you go. The operator, who had been suspicious with the call earlier, as she thought that the original man and Mr. Pharaoh sounded quite alike. So she called the police over, and he listened in. So then she called the guy who was supposed to be Mr. Pharaoh back and had him talk. Now, of course, the guy didn't know that it was the operator and answered with a normal voice. And therefore the operator said, is that Mr. Pharaoh? And he's like, no. And then she says, oh, well then can you get him please, because I have a call for him? So then the guy gets a bit nervous but puts the handkerchief over the phone and then says, Pharaoh here, who is this? The operator says how she has a call for him. And then the police realize, yeah, it does sound kind of similar. I better check the place out. So then he goes off to the house to investigate.
Forrester. to think what you're doing. TM6 is more deadly than radiation. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
Get the briefcase.
It's whacked! It's whacked! Come on, all of you, back to the ship!
So if you didn't catch that last shot, the guy number 1 had a gun pointed at guy number 2, right? And then he told him to get the briefcase. So guy number 2 went to grab the briefcase just as the thing went off, causing a really bad high-pitched noise. And guy number 1 must have been too sensitive to the noise, and then he collapsed down and dropped the gun. Guy number 2 then grabbed the gun and pointed it at guy number 1. However, the police came in just at that moment, and then they saw it, and then they just grabbed his hand gently, and then he said, it's okay, we got this. So then he says that he's taking them both away for questioning. If you hear meowing in the background, that's just my cat. But yeah, so they get taken away for questioning, and Ian and Barbara and Susan run back to the TARDIS, and the Doctor stays behind just long enough to see that the policeman has come into the house, and that all will turn out well. But then he grabs a seed before they leave for some reason, and he brings it into the miniature TARDIS. Then what he does is he does some stuff with the TARDIS to allow everything to grow except for the seed and the insecticide. Because once they have grown, Barbara will have grown, and so will her cells, and if her insecticide doesn't grow either, then that means that the insecticide won't harm her. And the Doctor brought the seed along to compare it as well, because once they start growing, leaving the seed behind, to them it'll appear that the seed is shrinking. And once the Doctor saw that it did indeed look like the seed was shrinking, he knew that that meant that they were growing and that all was going to be well. So they land, and the Doctor turns on the scanner to see what's outside. However, everything's a bit staticky.
They had to repair that wretched thing, and now look at it, I can't see a thing. As if it's beginning to materialize. Perhaps I shall know now where we are.
Oh. Yeah, BBC, yeah, I used a lot more clips than usual, but you can copyright it, but can you, like, just do the thing where you take down the monetizing instead of taking down my video entirely? Because if you are going to take down my video entirely because I use some clips, then you have to go into Dailymotion and take all the videos down because they have full-length episodes of it. Because, like, why is this bad again? Is it because so that your fans will be able to see my summary for free instead of actually watching the episode? First of all, I'm sure that they'll probably want to see the actual episode instead of just listening to a boring guy like me talk. And second of all, like I said, on Dailymotion there's the full episode for them to watch for free. But, yeah, you can take it down for monetizing if you want. You did it with my Edge of Destruction review, so why not? So, yeah, but this does belong to the BBC, obviously. So, yeah, purchase the DVD. You can watch it in 3-part form or 4-part form if you want. I personally like the 4-part form because I know that some people would disagree with me, but I actually do like this story. So I do like to have it in 4-part form so that it'll last a little bit longer. But if you don't really like it, then you can just watch it in 3-part form. So, yeah. There you go. So, that's the Season 2 opener. Please like this video if you enjoyed. Now, what I like to think is that it turns out that, like, even though the Doctor, Ian, and Barbara and Susan did leave those two guys questioning a little bit on how some of the stuff happened, like, for example, why was the telephone on top of corks? How did that fire start? It was very questionable. But from my point of view, it doesn't look like they changed that much. The plot would have changed if they weren't there, but I have the feeling that even if they did nothing, the story would still play out the same. A lot of people who I talked to about this say, like, yeah, but if the fire didn't go off, then they wouldn't have stalled, and they would have been out before the police got there. But, like, they would have still walked out, and while they were going down the street, the police would have saw them. like coming down the driveway or something. So yeah, leave a comment down below on how you think the plot may have played out if the Doctor, Barbara, and Susan and Ian didn't land there or didn't interfere in any way. This is actually the first episode where the Doctor says we have to stop something bad from happening instead of all, let's go find the TARDIS, blah 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 blah, take off. Land, get lost, find the TARDIS, take off, blah blah blah. It's a pattern. So yeah, I'll see you next time where I review story number 10, yes, the epic 10th story. Now, I really don't like saying the title of this story because it does spoil the cliffhanger for part 1, but it's called The Dalek Invasion of Earth. So, yeah. Subscribe for more videos, and I will see you next week. And if you're wondering what my Doctor Who story review will be, I do want to try and review these more frequently, but I do have a lot of planned videos that I want to get out as well, so I'm not sure. I have the feeling that my Dalek Invasion of Earth review might come out close to after Christmas, so I'll see you there.